suave. Suena el bongo. Hazme un tumbao que el ritmo lo pongo yo.
Pops and the Rican.
Look at this dude. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Pops and the Rican.
What's going on, everybody? This is Steve from the Pops and the Rican show. Pops, again, he's big time, so he couldn't make it to this show. But this one is exclusive and very special to me. So I want to introduce to you my guy who's been with me since day one, my boy Brent Stackhouse.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
Welcome to the show. Bro, here we are in the club.
What?
I wanted to record it in here because this right here, bro, is the core right here. This right here is where it all started. So I just wanted to really let that sink in because it hasn't really hit until I saw you perform last night on the stage, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude. Driving down here, I was like, yo, I am about to perform in my boys' club. Like, I'm about to headline in my boys' club. So, thinking about the journey, man, that it took to get here, you know, the ups, the downs, the believing, the not believing, the
I quit.
Yeah.
To know you can't quit.
And then to see this here with people in the room last night supporting your vision, dude. You know what I mean? Like, so me and this dude, we go way back. Like before there was comedy clubs and all of that in the pictures. We were just sitting around tables in groups making people laugh.
Right.
And I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you know,
right in.
Then it went from there to us hosting galas, fashion shows, like just two young cats, you know,
people laugh.
Just, you know, we had this synergy. And so I know we're gonna talk about the evolution of all of that, but I just think back, man, when we didn't even know we could be stand-ups.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and now
it didn't even we didn't. That was like I don't want to say the last resort. It just seemed like it just merged that way.
Yeah. Like for me, I was really more interested in acting. I love doing comedic acting, but I really wasn't interested in, you know, necessarily doing stand-up. I love making people laugh. Yeah. I knew I was funny. But yeah, just thinking of how it all transpired, it's just like, wow, we're here.
Here we are,
in your club,
right, dude.
Man,
talking about it, just dreaming about it, just saying, dude. I remember when I first got the vision of what Gutty's was about, and I was like, dude. I woke up at like 2 a.m. Drew out everything. Was like, bro, I'm, you know, this. I mean,
in true Steve fashion,
bro.
Let me tell y'all something. This dude gets something in his head. He is going to have it all laid out. Just,
bro, and to see it actually happening was just like at first it didn't even dawn. Like even opening night was like, it was surreal. It was like, if we're actually doing this, it's like we're here, but it still didn't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you and Brian Johnson know, like y'all like the core of it all. And I was sitting back going, man, here we are. Here's a spot, and I'm like, Dennis, man, and Dennis too. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Pops has been in the game since was it CCA? When we did that.
Dude, I remember when I met
first.
him, like
Yeah.
back in the day, you were like, hey, I gotta introduce you to my guy, and cool dude. So I'm glad to be sitting in Pop's chair. I am not Pop's. I am not even in Pop's age bracket. But just know that we love you, Pops. But a good dude, man. Like, to think about all the time he's been in it, all the wisdom and game that he's been able to speak.
Man.
I mean, spit.
Bro.
And just kind of help and shape and mold this thing, and just be that little push. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be that little push.
He is okay. If anything, if I could give a tip on starting going after your dreams and all that stuff, I would say, number one, line yourself up with people who embrace what you're doing and support what you're doing, because he's that guy. He sees people that have greatness in them, and he's always there to support. That man he wants to do anything he can so that you can fulfill your dreams. So he's always been there since day one too, and it's like I said, surround yourself with people who believe in it, because they're gonna tell you those days where you're like, I don't want to do this, I'm done, I quit, this is dumb. You get in your head a lot, and they're the ones that smack you in the back of the head and go, no, this is who you are, you need to walk it out, keep pushing, don't give up. Surround yourself around people like that, and that's why this one here is special to me, because you were that guy. Like, there was times where I would just hit you up and say, I am done with this, I can't go no more, I can't do this, I'm sick of it failing, I'm sick of people just constant, just diarrhea of the mouth, and just negativity, just blah. And it was always nah, man, nah, this is not you. No, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep pressing it.
You gotta, first of all, you can't share your dream with everybody. That's just right off the bat. And I know people say it all the time. You hear like celebs on podcasts, interviews, or whatever. But sometimes what you don't even realize is there are some people that are really close to you that you cannot share certain things with at certain times.
That's so true.
Because of just the filter they see you through, or the filter that they see life through, right? So, and it has nothing to do with them being a bad person, them not being supportive. Like, I mean, even sometimes, like, your parents will think they're doing what's in your best interest,
That's true.
because it's their reality that they're processing this thing from.
So true.
So, understanding, man, who can I share this with that's not just going to be my yes man, but straight hold me accountable. They're going to believe with me and then hold me accountable, right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, like, I just think about us, and what pushed me with you is I know who you are. Like, so having shared the stage with you in many facets, like we had a rap group back in the day. Me, us, and boy Evan G, Boys in the Wilderness, you know what I'm saying? We multi-talented. We were the triple threat before the triple threat was a thing. Hollywood, y'all hear that? Come get us. Come in. We still available.
We still here. We just check it out, for real.
But I say that to say, so I got to know this dude in a way other people didn't know him, right? So I saw what being on stage did for him. I saw what it did for him and to him. I saw how you seeing how you were impacting people's lives was pushing you to be better. It was feeding who you were. And so here's the problem with this guy. He's super talented at, like, there's nothing he can't do. And I tell you that, like, for real. And he's self-taught at most of it. Dude is a cold musician. This dude is a cold artist. Anything you put him at in sports, you put him in a sport, he's going to just be good at it. And sometimes I can mess with your head when you got this dream and you're pushing for it, and things aren't working out because there's so many other things you can fall back on.
Right.
Well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this,
Right.
I'm good at this, so, maybe I should be going this way. And then you got those people that are not understanding the struggle that it takes to get what you want, because they've never had to get this. Like, this isn't a normal thing. Right. This is, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you start talking show business and performing, and it's a different grind.
Right.
And so people start looking like, hey man, you better go over here to this company and get this gig and do this and do that. You got to take care of your family. You got to,
Come on,
and they don't know what it takes to build this.
Right. That's crazy, dude.
So you get people in your ear saying, hey man, maybe you should, and then you start second guessing, So just having those people that are like, but what they don't see is you're dying here. You're sitting in that chair making money, dying.
So true, man. That is so true, man.
And you're not good to anybody.
That is so true. Wow.
I can't be the husband I need to be. I can't be the dad I need to be.
Yeah.
I can fight through it, do the best I can, but I'm not in this whole place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so just getting people that know you on that level that could say, and that's a real thing. Man.
Dude. This is what I'm talking about. This is why you need to surround yourself with people who are real. They won't lie to you. They're gonna be real to you, and they're gonna tell you up front, man, you're being fake. No, man, that's whack. No, that's dumb. Don't do that. And you need that. You need that because it's gonna push you to that next level of where you should be, and that is so key to, especially when you're pursuing your career, whether it's comedy, whether anything that you feel like I feel called to be to, or that's another thing too, talking about calling versus, what is that really? Not too many people know that understanding of, okay, I'm called to do this, versus, well, I'm just doing it on the side, or it's just something that's fun to do. And that, in my opinion, separates those you watch when you're watching comedy, those who were called to be comedians versus those who are working and grinding and are successful, but you could tell there's just one little edge where you're like, man, what's the difference between this person and this person as far as comedy? And there's so much that we can argue about, so much we can talk about. He's more of an observational comedian, or he's more this, more that. But there's still that one key factor that even I think the argument between people saying you can't teach versus you just have it. It's just you.
I liken it to almost kind of like the it factor, right?
Yeah.
So you can have two people that you see it in singing a lot.
Yeah.
You see it in singing a lot. People have amazing voices, but someone can come on stage, have an amazing voice, and you're like, oh, they could sing. Man, they're good. They're good. And someone else can come on stage, not even be as great a singer, but there's a way that they move you. Like there's something else about them that's so real, so genuine, that moves you to where you're like, yo, man, like I felt all of that. And it takes you, it's a completely different experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you talk about that whole thing of being called versus, just doing it, and I'm not saying everybody,
right.
That's the distinguishing factor, but there is that it factor helps you see that it's like, man, like, yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? Like me, I work full-time job, I tell jokes, and I love to barbecue. And I can throw down. I can throw down. No, I ain't tripping. Like
he can throw down.
I can.
You need to
put my meat in your mouth, and you just gonna melt. I need to censor that. I'm sorry. I apologize. Not like that. I meant my rib tips, and my chicken. Okay, my smoked meat.
So we gonna bring back,
okay. Wear that shirt at the church picnic. Okay. So, you know, I'm good at it, right?
Yeah.
But I know it's not something that I'm called to do. I'm gifted at it.
That is. Okay.
But it's not something I'm called to do. So I hustle. I'll sell rib dinners on the side. You know, people are like, oh yeah, when you open in a restaurant, nah, that's not me. Like there's some dudes out there where like you see the love they put into their food, and you like, yo, this dude he supposed to be a chef? Like,
right.
Ain't forget everything else. This dude is supposed to be a chef, and that exists in our world. It exists in our world.
Good,
you know what I'm
man.
saying? So. Like, like the world hasn't really experienced the talent of this dude. Like I used to call him like a Puerto Rican Jim Carrey. Like he could do anything. He could do anything for real. Like he get on stage, characters, voices, and he would take a joke somewhere that you were like, yo, I did not see that coming. Like, and that's why I loved working with him, because he pushed me. Like we would just push each other. We would plan something and then go out on stage and like elevate it to the next level and go backstage like, yo,
we did.
we just what?
Right.
You know?
That just happened?
Yeah.
It did. Let's do it again. Next show.
Yeah. And crazy part was real talk. We would just talk. We wouldn't practice.
We'd
be like, hey,
unscripted.
Hey, we got here's the idea.
Yeah, right.
Let's go out here and do this.
Right.
And then let that mug just go where, and we had that trust, dude. I ain't gonna lie, I miss that. I miss that. Like just being able to be on stage, and it's like that trust to just say, wherever he goes, I'm going with them. Where, you know, and man,
there's nothing like that, man. It's like it's like you know, if we can liken it to the Bulls, right? They each had their specific players, right? And you knew who was gonna run their plays right, and had that trust where Scotty's gonna be here, Dennis is gonna be there. I know the squad's gonna be there. That confidence increases your comedy even more, in my opinion, because then you're not focusing on what's happening or who or what set we're on or what joke we're on. It really does give you a foresight on the whole thing. And I would say 100% I missed that big time, because it's just like we would just get like they would just ask us, you know, we need you to do a show, and it's just we're on it. Boom, here's some premises, here's some ideas. Let's just go with that, and it would just work. It would just work. It just did, and we're not even just saying to say it. It did, and that was just great. It's just great to experience that, man. And when you get that first laugh, that first hit, there's something about when that roar comes in, and you're just like, oh man.
Dude, if we would have had social media when we start, like some of the stuff we did, like
stuff, bro.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have to sell rib dinners. I wouldn't.
We'd have our spot.
The world wouldn't know how good my barbecue was, because you know.
I mean, it's just now we're here, right? Yeah. And it's a different thing that I'm experiencing, to have to run a club, to be a part of something like that, and then to know that okay, I can at any time I can go up there and just do what I know to do anyway, and that has been interesting for me, because I'm understanding Greenwood, I'm understanding Indiana, because it is a total different setup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So learning how to be able to cross, you know, different states was something that I remember I think we did an interview with Mario Torre, and Mario was saying,
hey, I performed with that dude at 50 Comics Deep. That's where I met him.
Okay, Mario.
He's a funny dude. He's a funny dude. And then I hosted a show that he was in year before last at CLC. Good dude, man.
Yeah,
funny cat.
And he's so down to earth too, as far as like giving you advice and just wanting to just make you better. He's always, you know. Anyways, well, we've been able to create a really good relationship. And I was talking with him because he had a really good point. He was like, get out of your city. Leave your city. Find out what they doing over there down in Indiana, what they doing over here. If you can go to those cities and find out what the attitude is there, and what the atmosphere is there, and what they like, what they don't like, because then you can take what you learn in there, and 9 times out of 10 when you go to another spot, you might it'll like just unfold and be able to fold it into other. So getting that experience is what I'm getting here, because when I first showed up to Indiana, and I was hitting the comedy scene, it was just like, okay, this is a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Big time. And it's like,
it's funny you say that, man, because like I went to New York and I just wanted to go to a club. I wasn't on stage, and just you could even feel the difference there. Like, and Chicago is a big market, so I've experienced some things, right? But it's different in different areas, right? And so, performing out here, I feel it, I see it, and
It's
so
different.
it's like, how do you work these crowds in these different areas? How do you stay relatable?
Right.
How do you tweak your jokes to where it'll still hit here?
Right.
Yeah.
So it goes to basically what we like to do in the shows. We like to talk about how did you, because I know a little bit of but I want them to know, how did you get into comedy? And how was that transition into that?
So, as a kid, man, I was always the dude making everybody laugh, you know what I'm saying, around the table.
Right.
And my mom used to say, boy, you should be a comedian. You should do stand-up comedy. And I was like, nah, Ma, I'm funny around the table.
Right.
I'm situationally funny.
Right.
I'm not stand-up comedy funny. Like, it's a whole different monster.
It is.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I never even thought it. Like I said, I've always been into the arts. I love acting. I would write. I do plays. I directed plays. That's what I've done. I sing. I've written songs. It's just all of that. I've always been into the arts. Always would put my spin on things and get the laugh out of them.
Right.
But it wasn't until we started, and it's funny, like I met this dude and we were in that music phase, but like we just sit at tables just making each other laugh. And before he got there, I was manning the crowd, and he came in and he was killing. Like, he's we sitting around the table, this dude is killing. Like, wait a second, dude, like, hold up, like, my shine, you still in my shine right now, bruh. But you kind of funny, but
Right.
but I gotta get some jokes out here too.
No, that was funny, bro, but dang.
So we hooked up and started getting gigs to host all these different functions, right? And would tell some jokes here and there through that.
Right.
And so we were doing this fashion show. We had done it like 2-3 years in a row.
Yep.
And this lady comes up to me at the fashion show, and she's like, hey, do you do stand-up comedy? I'm having a birthday party and I need a comedian and I'm paying $200. And I was like, I do stand-up comedy.
I do jokes.
I absolutely do. I am your man. And so that's legit how I started doing stand-up.
Right. Right.
I did 45 minutes, the worst 45 minutes. They're cracking up. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how bad it was until I actually started understanding. I was like, oh, dude, that was horrible. Like literally that 45 minutes, probably from a joke perspective, was probably about a good 7.
That's it, man. You take all these thoughts and you just grind it down. And it's like, dang, I only got 2 minutes.
It was all bad.
Brutal.
It was all bad. But they loved it, right? So that got me started, and then you started E-Comedy Live.
Wow, that was in the little room.
Yes. So we had this little room at our church, and that was the cool thing about our church was they were all about use your gifts. Like, whatever way you want to use them, use your gifts, right? And so,
well, real quick, shout out to Signed Up Church, because they were the ones that really just pushed me and said, do it. They gave me the opportunity, and like I always do, jump on that opportunity, and it was that was the start of it all.
So I did some stuff there, and then we had a couple other shows. I think one of them was the one in Milwaukee. That's when I met Dennis.
Yep.
Yeah,
because
or
we
Kenosha.
did,
yeah.
Yeah, because we did
At that school, Mike was there. Mike McLean.
Yeah. We did.
There was a girl too, a female, I think.
Michelle Vandison, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yep. So that kind of got me started, and then at the time, man, I had a bunch going on. I was married. I had I was youth pastoring. I was working a full-time job, so I was doing a bunch of stuff, and I still wasn't seeing myself as a stand-up comedian.
Right.
Right? So there was that piece, right? Yeah, I done got up here, told a couple jokes, made a little bit of cash, but I still wasn't believing that I was a stand-up comedian. I mean, at that time, I still didn't even know, like, yo, you probably should be going to open mics regularly to work out material and
still.
You know, because people are laughing at what I'm saying. So I'm like, all right, I'm good. You know, hey.
I don't even, let me skip that.
Right. And not understanding, like, you got to respect the art. Like, you got to respect the art. So, and I'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But from there, I actually stopped doing comedy, like stand-up, for probably about 6 years. And then I remember calling this dude, because then he was going to a different church. I was doing some other things, and I said, hey, we need to start this sketch group. I got this idea. He was like, yo, bro, I've been thinking something similar. Let's do it. So we started this thing called the BS Show. Put a crew together, and we were writing all the sketches and performing. We had a great crew. We had a blast.
We were at the point where we got to comedy competitions in
Chicago. Yep.
Tango,
Gorilla Tango made it to the finals.
Yeah,
made it to the finals.
That was crazy.
That was good stuff. So I mean, we had really good times there. But from that, people were coming to the shows, and again, start, hey, you do stand up. We need a comedian for this. We need a comedian for that. And that got me back into doing stand up. But then I started going to open mics every week and working on material and set. And it was like, oh man, I didn't realize, like, I didn't even have a voice at that time. Like, I didn't know who I was. You know what I'm saying?
That's
I'm watching comedians and like, oh man, they're funny. Why was this funny? How did that work? You know what? And then, early on, I found myself trying to, because I liked them, maybe I should deliver my stuff like this. And it's like, no, you got to find out who you are as a comedian, because there's that genuineness, that truth that has to emanate from you.
Okay.
In order for you to touch people.
See, that right there is key. That is key for those of you who are watching and riding. They're like, okay, why is it that I can't really connect? What's going on? And it's because majority of the time when you're writing your material, you're not writing you. You're just writing words, right? And when you get up on stage, people can tell whether you're true and it's real or whether it's fabricated. And the audience will pick it up. So that's so true, man. If you're not being yourself and being real about it, then it's just a play on words, and you can really sense that. That's what's going to separate you, especially on your comedic career, is that you can actually hear the person rather than just, oh, he's just up there saying jokes.
And it makes a huge difference, because you don't even, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but like, you don't have to be the funniest dude. If you're just being real, there's people that are going to relate to you, they're going to connect with you, and you can build an audience. Now, especially with social media, you can build an audience quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, it's a whole bunch of dudes out here on social media doing stuff, and some of the stuff they do is funny. The majority of the stuff they do isn't funny, but they're building followings because they're being them. They're not trying to run in somebody else's lane. And then you've got some other dudes that have, I'll put it like this. On NBC had that comedy show, the first one, Last Comic Standing. And season 1, a dude named Dat Fan
That fan.
beat out Ralphie May.
Right.
Dat Fan had maybe 15 minutes of material in a notebook that he used through that whole thing.
Yeah.
Ralphie May had been doing clubs, had been doing everything,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Ralphie was a
Legit,
bona fide,
right.
legit stand-up.
Right.
Dat Fan won the competition, you know, it was all the votes, and I think I forget where they said he was working, but he continued working there because he never had this expanded set to really go out there and
Right,
eat, to
and
feed
eat.
crowds, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas Ralphie was ready,
Right.
and he was ready because of all the stuff that he had done, all he had been through, you know, all he had worked out. And so it's just that, you know.
But that right there proves the whole theory. I don't say theory, but the whole argument sometimes about being subjective, because comedy can be very subjective. You got your clean comedians, and then you got your, you know, comedians that do nothing but blue. And this is always going to be the whole thing. Now, Dennis and I have always been, what's the word? Advocates of clean comedy, because it's just the type of comedy I do. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I don't or dislike or push anybody to the side. This is something that's a really good subject that we've always talked about here, especially in Indiana. A lot of people just like to chime in and say, well, you know, your club is not really a club. It's, you know, it's family friendly, clean comedy. I'll wait for a real comedy club to show up. And my argument is like, what is a real comedy club? You know, what in your definition, because I'm not putting you down or degrading people or using foul language, I'm not a real comedy club. Again, there goes that subjective argument. Okay, so what's funny to you is not funny to me. You know what I mean? So there's that argument between the two. But my argument is just that if people come in and they're enjoying themselves and they're laughing, then our job has been fulfilled, right?
Funny is funny. So, I mean, you know, I only do clean comedy.
Right.
There's probably a few things I said. People are like, I do push the limit sometimes, and it comes from an honest place though. In all honesty, like
that's what I'm saying.
It comes from a very honest place, like you know, like the whole balls dropping thing with my son. Like that was a legit. This happened, okay? You know, but as a clean comedian, what I've experienced is when I go out and I'm doing these shows where a lot of blue people are there, people come up to me. This always happens. Dude, you are hilarious. And you never cussed once. They're like, people don't, you were clean and you were hilarious.
Yeah, see?
Funny is funny.
Bro, if you think about it too, if you're going to be on Jimmy Fallon, if you're going to be on TV, and you want to be on TV, dude, unless you Eddie Murphy, you know what I'm saying, they're not going to give you a special spot. Right. You feel me? So it's like you come in with your jokes and they tell you, this can't be said, this can't be said. So what are you going to do? You got to adjust. If that's your route, right? If you're going to be a working comic and you want to do clubs of blue, cool, that's your route. But if your route is to get known and have more opportunity, where we've interviewed Robert G. Lee, which is going to be here next week. He did stuff on the set, on TV sets, to warm the crowd up.
Yeah.
So that was his experience. And I'm like, whoa, that's a whole different experience, right? So he had to work the crowd, keep them going, keep them warmed up in between the sets, and so he would do things to keep them engaged, right? And it couldn't be, you know, foul in any way, right? So he had to be able to adjust that. So for us, what we say is, when you do clean, you see a lot of green. Meaning, like you'll have more opportunity if you can adjust your set to where, okay, respectfully and professionally, this room does clean. So I'm gonna do my sets that I can bring in, make it clean, and I'm gonna adjust it, and we're gonna have a good night. Or am I gonna be that comic that's just gonna be like, forget it, man, you guys, whatever, peace, whatever, you guys, you know, it's like you're not gonna go anywhere if you stop that.
Yeah, and I'm like, to each his own, right?
Right.
Like for me, I always wanted my mom and dad to be able to sit down, watch my stuff, and be proud.
See.
You know, and my parents being pastors,
Right.
it's like I wanted them to sit down and not just be like, "Oh, my son's funny," but I'm proud of what he's doing. I'm proud of the way he's doing it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and again, not everybody's. That's not your thing.
Yeah.
You know, you may want to do blue and go blue.
Yeah.
And, hey, that's all. I mean, you look at a lot of people out there doing it, but I look at like the Gaffigan's. I look at one of my biggest influences was Sinbad.
Okay.
Like that dude,
Right. He
Killed.
would, bro, every time.
killed,
Every
and he's still killing today.
Still.
He was in the city. We saw him. I'm like, how is he like, bruh? He'll just be talking to the crowd, pick a topic out, and just
Bro, I read about him where he's like, and see, you got to get to. He was at a place where he can write on a piece of paper like 5 topics, and he's like, I'm gonna talk about these 5 tonight, with nothing written, nothing. He goes, these 5 topics is what I'm gonna do, and he did a whole headlining set on those topics. Because he got to a place, bro. When you get to a place where you're super confident in your voice, you're super confident in your skill. Like he was like, I went to a place and they were like, this one guy was like, I don't got 5 minutes. He's like, you can't do 5 minutes? He's like, who can't do 5 minutes? Who cannot do 5 minutes? 5 minutes is like nothing. I mean, if you can't do 5 minutes, then you gotta work. And he's like, you will not get to a certain place in your career. Unless you do about maybe, he's like within 5-10 years is when you start seeing a nice little change in your career, and then because it's a marathon, it's not a race, so or it's not like a quick sprint. So it's like it's so true, and those are the type of stuff I'm talking about. Those people who have it, right, versus those who are grinding to get there. Either way, you can make it to that place, but you're always gonna have that one thing where you're like, man, but he can, you know. Now, on the flip side, you know, Chappelle.
Well, but Chappelle is just like Sinbad. Like Chappelle goes into clubs,
Bro,
no set planned, and will rip for hours. Not an hour. Will rip for hours.
yes, dude, yes.
But again, he's living and breathing this stuff, you know. But even then, when they're doing these specials, right?
Yeah.
Just the process of they're still going to the club, they're still
grinding.
working out material,
Exactly.
they're revising it,
Yeah.
going back out to the clubs.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Hart was talking about his process. He'll go small clubs, see if stuff's working,
Yeah.
retune it till he gets it where he thinks it's okay. Then he takes it to like a small theater because it's a different vibe, a different feel.
Wow, that's true, because you do have.
And then he tries to work it there and tweaks it again. And then he goes to a little larger crowd before he starts doing his arena
I can't
tours.
imagine, bro, an arena,
Right.
like, because everything is just everywhere, right? And to have to get that feedback, because I heard, I don't know if it was him, but I did read an article where they said it's different because when you throw a joke out, you know, in a club you throw a joke out when you get a response, but when you're in an arena or theater, you just gotta throw it out there, and sometimes your timing, because you're waiting for
the laugh to come back. Yeah.
so you gotta like pace or wait for that moment when it hits. You're like, okay, there it is, and that is a whole nother level.
I wouldn't mind having no problems. Those are problems I wouldn't mind having. Yeah. How do I figure out how to kill in an arena? Yeah, you know, I'll take that one on.
Right. That's good. That's good.
So,
Okay, so then when you first understood, okay, when you're like, okay, I'm funny. I got my peoples laughing at what I do. I got people at school laughing at what I do. I know I got the funny bone. What helped you get to, all right, let me take this and harness it, and now I'm gonna start writing? Like, at what point is it because you have that innate ability to write? Because I know for a fact when we was doing Voice in the Wilderness, we were like, yeah, we got a song we got to write for, and this ninja will bring 4 booklets of just, okay, I got another verse. I'm like, how many verses did you just write, bro? Everybody's like, hold up, all right, let me take verse 2, all right, let me take verse 3. Let me take verse 4. Now look at those flipping pages, and I got my little me 2-pocket notebook, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say right now. Dude, bro, you just write. You have that ability to just write. Now, at what point do you were like, okay, I need to get the science of what writing jokes versus me just,
So
writing it out?
here's, and I do not recommend this at all. I don't recommend this at all. So I don't write jokes.
Okay. That's good.
What I do is I write down my ideas, and then I pull a Jay-Z and I just start working them out in my head.
Okay.
Right? So
Is it because you're more physical in your acts, and so you need that physicality in it, or is it?
Honestly, it's because when I've tried to write like on paper, and what I found is it felt so scripted that I didn't even believe it. Like I wasn't believing it. I didn't feel like I could even deliver it. Right? It was so scripted. So I said. And writing how I talk, which is crazy. I can write scripts and I can do dialogue, and it's like cool. But like when I'm doing stand up and trying to write how I would say it's
you can't. You just gotta do it out loud.
Yeah. So I'll write down, hey, I got this idea, right? And then I'll even write down, here's this may be the punchline. This just makes be an idea, and here's what I could potentially do with this. So I got this joke I'm working on, right? My mom is a Christian woman who can be a little bit over the edge. So like there were certain cereals we couldn't eat in the house growing up, right? Like any cereal that had like any type of monster or like even Lucky Charms. Like we couldn't eat Lucky Charms because it was like a box of demons, So it's like, well, dang, Lucky Charms is demons? Right. But like as a kid, when you can't do something, if your friends could do it, you try to go over your friend's house and do it, right?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about, not being able to eat certain cereals, but going over my friend's house and eating certain cereals. And then my sister snitching on like, he over there eating demons,
Right.
So that idea kind of is there. Now I've got to work out how do I form this joke? How do I, and is this really, right now it's just an idea, but there's sometimes where I have a punchline. And it's like
from that. Okay, so you want to build to that punchline.
Right. There's sometimes I have a punchline, boom. And I'll go and then I find out, man, maybe that wasn't the punchline. Maybe that was just a funny setup to get me to an even better punchline.
Right.
So, but it's stuff that I work out more in my head and in open mics and on, where I didn't do that, or I need to be more detailed with that. How do I get more detailed than saying that joke? So I think people have some of that same work that they do on paper.
Okay.
But for me, it's more fluid for me if I can
You just act
do
it
it
out.
in my head. Yeah.
It's almost like you just act it out, and then this good.
Yeah.
Man, that's good because that's kind of how I work it out, because I'll get an idea, especially when I'm driving, and then I'll record the idea on my phone, and then from that point, I do what I normally do, because I know. Okay, so my wife would tell me, so Val would tell me, don't try to, because she goes, I know that when you first learned how to write a joke, it became more robotic. It became more scripted, right? And she goes, but when you're with Brent, when you're with the people that you know, it seems like it's just you. That you're not trying to script it out. Why? Because I'm pulling my thought on what would be funny at that situation. And so what I'm doing is I went from being very robotic to now I take that idea and then I take what I know is funny to me, or at least my innate ability to just come up with comedy, and I act it out. Like I'll act out the character, or I'll act out while I'm driving. I'm like, yeah, she said this, and I'm like, okay, I can do that, or I can probably bring it this way, or that comment is crazy. And I would think, and sometimes I would think, what would I say if Brent heard this, right? What would I say what would B say if I said this to him? And then I'll get like an idea, or what would, how would this person react? Because I know that these are the people that I would feed from. If I threw something at them, and then they'll hit something, and then I'll hit something, and we're able to stack that up.
It's
different.
You saying that it kind of brought me to the realization, because I think I've thought it but never like said it. But that's kind of part of the reason writing feels so foreign to me, is because that's how we've always done it.
That's so true, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's always been our process of grabbing the funny out of something and building on. Like we'll and any of you guys that are comics that just sit around and chop it up at the table, something will come out,
right?
Somebody will say something, and then you guys just start building on
Just
that thing, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I mean, we still do that now. Like you'll be like, "Hey man, I got this joke I was thinking," and I'll be like, "Hey dude, but what about boom?" And then he come back, "What about boom, 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 boom?" And we both do it together.
Yeah.
So I think because that's how we've always gotten to the funny.
That is true.
It's probably why my process is more like that, than just putting pen to paper.
It just seemed, I think, because when we would just freestyle, we just improv it just would hit. And knowing, okay, this may not, I don't think we even thought of, will this hit that crowd, or will we? It was just, this is funny.
It's funny. Yeah.
And let's just throw it out there. Yeah. And if they laugh, they laugh, whatever. But this is funny. Now there was other stuff we're like, nah, I don't think that's gonna work. But when we hit something that we knew,
or in the words of Horace,
like,
it's funny to me.
Funny to
Horace H.B. Sanders, shout out.
Yeah, another cat is hilarious in Detroit. But knowing that and getting that process, now it's like, okay, how can I grab that? And then, so are you pen to? You're not pen to paper, right? You're just
so
you type?
I do actually. I type, but I actually probably do pen to paper. Well, now it's more of this,
right?
But so I'm old school. Like, it's something about having a pen in my hand to write something that makes me feel like it just works better.
Dude,
yes,
okay.
It works better for me. And sometimes I'll transfer it.
This is the third interview we heard that same exact thing, and I think Dennis Pops said some really. He had like a $5 expensive word that explains what that is. I'm just like, it helps me when I write. When I write, because my brain is working, right? So your eyes are looking at what you're writing, your brain is processing what you're writing, and you're physically writing it. There's some way that it works. Now, what I do is I go from writing it, because it slows you down. Another thing too, it slows you down when you're writing to think through that process. If I'm typing, I kind of go really quick, and I'm like, this is just me. I'm like, and I'm able to go. But when I take that and I just write it out, then I can think through it and go, wait a minute, this could go probably over here. Now that I have this, I go from that written thought to going, okay, let me say it out loud. What does it sound like? Well, it doesn't sound like me. How would I say it? How can I break this down to where it sounds like me? And then it's like when I go up on stage to try it out. Okay, let me try to remember what I said. That's another thing that's a problem. Is remembering, bro. I was like, what did I write? But it makes it like if you can get as close as you can to you, then it's not as hard to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because you're just being you, and then you're able to just word it the way you feel comfortable.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll use the voice record on it too.
Yeah. Because I want to keep that thought. Because when that thought hits, I'm like, dang, I'm not going to remember this. So I want to keep that thought.
Yeah, I just call it not being a millennial. That's why I write. It's just not being a millennial. That's what you do. I still write.
That's good. All right, so in your career as you were going along, we like to get like, what was the best tip or advice that you ever gotten from anyone? That could be from, it doesn't have to be necessarily be a comedian, but that got you to go, okay.
So here's one piece of advice that I live by, and it's something my dad told me. Never make a decision just for money. Never make a decision just for money. And why that's important to me is I think about the things that have taken me away from my passion. I think about the compromises people make that, so in show business, you start out, it's just like in sports, just the love of that thing, right? The love of the comedy, the love of telling jokes, making people laugh, the love of singing, the love of playing basketball, football. And then when money starts to get involved, your decision-making process becomes very different. Sometimes you're even creativity, because you're trying to fit into what's going to make money rather than what's real to who you are and why you started doing this. And money is not a bad thing. We need money, right?
Of course, right.
But
it
doing things to make money, right, isn't a bad thing. But when I began to make decisions just because of the money, it usually doesn't last. Well, it doesn't last, and you usually usually end up regretting the sacrifices you've made because of it, right? So
that's real, dude.
I just think about being able to be true to who I am, touch the people that I'm supposed to touch, and make the difference that I'm supposed to make. You know, and I like one of the reasons I love Dave Chappelle, like walking away from that $50 million. That's a lot of money, dog.
That is,
like
bro. That is.
So this dude started at 14 years old. He started at 14 years old. Was grinding. We saw him as that little dusty, ashy dude in a couple of Eddie Murphy movies. You know, like he wasn't. You know, he half baked, had his half baked movie. He thought that was gonna be it. And, you know, it was a cult classic. But you know, so Dave had been working, grinding, and it wasn't really popping for him. He does Chappelle's show.
And that's when
killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Right.
And then they start wanting him to make compromises that weren't true to him. He said, I watched an article, an interview with him, and one of the things he said, and I probably won't quote it right, but I doubt Dave's gonna watch this, so it's all good. and if he does, my bad, Dave. My bad. But he was saying when he told his father he wanted to be a comedian. I guess his father wanted him to be an educator, because I guess him and his mom are educators.
Yeah.
His father and mother are educators.
Right.
And so, you know, Dave was like, well, if I could make the same amount of money doing what you do, why is that a problem, right? Yeah. Right. He said, you know, his dad was like, all right. He said, but his dad told him, know your price. Know your price. Know the price to where it's too expensive for me to keep going. It's costing me too much. And so you got a brother that walked away from $50 million because of what it was costing him, not because of what he was making.
Wow, dude.
And he came back. And he's back.
Exactly.
So
wow, so he came up on top of that too. As well.
Yeah. So that always
that's
lives with me. You know what my dad told me: never make a decision just based on money. You know, from a comedian standpoint, I say one of the biggest tips is trust who you are as a comedian. I remember one night I went to a concert, and it was like this dude in our area was throwing these shows, like bringing old school artists in. They were jumping like, and I came in. Everybody knew I did stand up, so they just brought me on stage.
They just called you up.
Right. And so, you know, I just started working the crowd, laughing, you know, boom. And this was something I run into. I had the crowd going, and I just felt like I had to jump into a set. So I started doing a couple jokes, and then I came out and came off stage, and one of the guys there, I'd never met this dude. And he's like, dude, you're a funny cat. He said, hey man, he said, but like, you're funny. You don't need to do a set. He said,
so he
said you were up there, you had us dying. He said, I could tell when you went into your set. He was like, but dude, you didn't need that. He said, you were working the room. You had us laughing. You're a funny dude. Like, trust that.
Right. That's good.
Trust that. And it was just like, my insecurities coming out, right?
Right.
And you got this like, man, so you got to be able to trust that you're funny. That don't mean you're going to hit every night with every group, but trust that you're funny. Trust that you have the goods. Trust that you have a voice.
Yeah.
You still got to keep working.
Right. That's good. That's good. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's the stuff that you need to hear. Y'all need to hear too. Trust yourself. Trust the funny that's in you, because you know you have it. Keep grinding. Keep getting on stage. Keep finding open mics. Come to Gutty's Comedy Club, Laugh Sabbath on Sunday nights. We have an open mic from 7 to 9. Keep grinding. Keep pushing. And trust and believe believe in the funny that's in you.
Yeah. So we got to pause for a commercial break. Our sponsor, Toothpicks for Tomorrow, has, you know, if you got something in your teeth, just
they're delicious too. They got
if
cinnamon.
you're trying to quit smoking and just need oral fixation,
they work. You
need something in your hand just when you're presenting. Toothpicks for Tomorrow is what you need. All right, and we'll keep doing this particular sponsorship until we get some real sponsors for this podcast. Go ahead.
So talk about it. Bro. So we got another show.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure when you guys see this, by the time you see this, it's all good, but it has been nothing but a pleasure to see you on the stage, like we've always said we were going to do anyways, rocking the mic, killing and having a good time. And I'm excited about what's going to happen tonight. I'm excited about the future of what's happening here at Gutty's, but also just how you've been able, I'm going to say, now it's my turn to be able to say, seeing where you were at when you first started understanding comedy, and then seeing the result of the grind now is just nothing but encouraging, because you were able to take advice, whether it was that sucked or work on that more, and the moments where you were like, I don't think I'm a comic, I think I'm more of a writer, you know, that those days, I'm telling you, is gone. And to see, like last night, watching you perfect that and get up stage and really engage and watch everybody just explode with laughter, I'm telling you, bro, has been nothing but pleasure to see and encouraging to see, bro. Because it was like we both were like, I don't think we're comics, man.
Well, and here's the funny thing is, I was like, I'm not a comic, you're a comic. And he was like, nah, I'm not a comic, like, you're a comic. Like, we're both telling each other that we're comics, and both of us believing we're not comics. Like,
Right. So we need to take that advice, bro. Like, believe and trust that. So I'm excited to see what's happening in your life and what's going to happen here, and bro. And it's always a pleasure. Always, the door's always open. 100% every time. When I'm rolling through, I'm like, all right, I got you. Get you up there. So we appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it. And
Anytime.
I don't know if you've already told this story, but I'm gonna tell this story, especially if it's a lot of young comics. So me and this dude have been knowing each other
20 years, 21,
it's more than
23?
that. 23 years.
23.
We've been knowing each other 23 years,
Yeah.
right? Like young pups. Like, when we talked about the whole, like that first club was 2003-ish, so 16
Yep.
years ago.
Yep, 2003. Yeah.
You got this vision, and that led into what Gutty's was. But I don't know how many of y'all know, like this dude had walked away from comedy. Like had completely walked away from comedy.
Done.
And I was like, man, what are you doing? Like, bro, and all the things going on with him were like valid, like legit things, right? So I'm like, I get it, but this is who you are. This is who you are. This is who you are.
Right.
And so he would kind of get his feet back in it a little bit, and then it kind of just be like, nah. Get his feet back in it. And we were talking, so last year we were talking.
Year.
And I'm like, bruh, and here, I always keep it 100. Like when I'm like, man, dude, like, you're a great graphic designer. You ain't supposed to be doing that crap. Like, you're really, really good. You're one of the better ones that I know. I need you to help me with this project, but you ain't supposed to be doing this. Like, okay?
Right.
Yup. I know you're killing it with the whole app thing right now.
Right.
Nah, man. Like, no. Like,
So true.
and
So true.
what makes me so proud is last year you were like, all right, B, I'm gonna do it. And at that point, it wasn't even about the club. It was about you getting back to your center.
Yeah.
You getting back into finding your voice and believing again.
Right.
And this mug went from not doing anything to being out 3-4 nights a week at open mics around Indiana. Sometimes he was performing, sometimes he was just in the environment. And he grinded for a year. And then the club opportunity came.
That's true.
The club opportunity came from you putting your head down and just doing it.
Yeah. That's it.
3-4 nights a week, like just doing it. And so people don't know that. People don't know that he went 4 years doing nothing in comedy. We were starting a tour. We were doing a tour. He came out, did that show, and things just fell completely apart, And so we never even really.
True, man. I lost my car that night too on my way there.
Yes.
Broke down. Got my son with me. I was like, I gotta make it to this show because we gotta record this. This is something I gotta do. And it seemed like everything was stopping me from doing that. That's right. When August 1st was 6 years to the day.
Five
years to the day that we did the tour, and we said something big's gonna come from this. Even though this happened, something big's gonna come from this, and I got the keys to the club.
And so
Crazy,
when I tell
bro.
you, he just put his head down and stopped. He fought the voice that was telling him, "You can't do it. You're not good enough. You can't do it. You're past your time."
Right, that's big. Oh,
I got to support my family.
Jeez.
I got all those things. He was like, man, you know what? I'm going to just keep my head down. And I remember one of the pieces of advice I gave you was, don't think of this right now as taking you away from your job or replacing this or replacing that. I was like, don't worry about that. There will be a time where you probably have to make that choice. I said, right now, that's not what it's about. Right now, it's just getting back to who you are. Dude, you own a club right now. You own a club.
Right.
Like a year later,
Right.
a year later, you own a club.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
So it's something to be said about putting the work in, y'all. Like making the sacrifice. Like, I was actually just telling him, I was like, man, I gotta start working on this new set. and you know, I have a full-time job. I coach basketball. With my kids.
Yeah.
I'm running around all over the place. I'm active in my church, but I know I'm supposed to be doing this comedy thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yo, I've got to take time out to be at open mics, to work on the craft.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where people are like, hey, we want you to do a show. And I've really been like, nah. Because I haven't been working the way I need to work. I haven't given the craft the respect that it deserves. And I respect the craft. I respect the craft, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's like,
I don't want to do a disservice to it. I respect it enough to where it's like I can. And see, a lot of people think that's, oh, you just chicken out. And it's like, no, I respect it enough to where I know that if I don't have what it takes, or not what it takes, but
if I haven't put in work,
put in work, exactly.
Right.
I don't want to go up there.
I'm not just going into a game.
Yet, right?
I'm not just going to a game when I haven't practiced.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get injured. I'm gonna cause the team to lose. It's gonna be a bad experience, right? And so, but what I had to realize was this, and this is why I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing. When I don't do it, I rob people of what I'm supposed to be giving.
Come on, man.
I'm robbing people.
I'm
robbing people of what I'm supposed to be giving them, and I'm robbing people of giving them the permission to do the same with others.
Wow, bro. Wow.
I'm tired. People are like, dude, people, hey, we need what you have. We need what you have. And it's like, when will you take that serious enough to say, let me be always ready to give the people what I have?
Woo!
Yeah.
Exclusive, baby. And I'd be remiss to say the people that have helped me get to where I'm at too as well have believed in Gutty's, and they've invested, and I am thankful to every single person that believed it when I presented to them. And there was a lot of people who were like, no, but those who stepped up and said, I believe in this and I think it's amazing, mad love to all of them, because they truly believed in what we're all about here in Gutty's. And so I'm thankful that I could sit here with my boy, my brother, and say, but thank you guys for supporting this and coming out and say that I'm just excited about what's happening and what's gonna go down, man. Because it's real. It's happening, and you guys need to be a part of it just as much, because Gutty's is just as much yours to be a part of you, and to be able to be a part of something that you want to do. And I would see that's so true what you're saying. Like, if I didn't open this up, we weren't giving those who are loving improv right now an opportunity to do improv, opportunity to do sketches, opportunity to work on their stand-up. Like, seeing them come up, bro, is so satisfying, and seeing how they're growing and they're taking their comedy to the next level. It's gratitude, man. It's just, I'm just so thankful that, and it's always been that. I've always said it to you. I was like, I don't see myself around this, man. I've never seen myself centered. I just saw people. Every time I thought about Gutty's, I'm like, all I see is the people that are gonna be involved in this, and seeing it now has just been. It's crazy, man. It's still like hitting, but it's still like not really solid. I don't know why, because I think it's just because if I get to that point, I might just stop, and I don't wanna just stop. So I'm like, let it just be, let it just flow, and let the people that we're getting connected with be a part of it.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue into our next sponsor, Peppermints. Keeping people's breath fresh so that you can communicate
effectively.
Yes. So we will continue these mock sponsorships until we get real sponsorships for this podcast. Thank you. One breath at a time. Saving relationships. One at a time.
Love you, man.
I love you too, brother.
Appreciate you, bro, like crazy. I'm excited about where your career's going, and I'm excited about the fact that you were able to experience this here at Gutty's, and I'm thankful to everybody that has been able to support us since we started rocking Gutty's here in Indiana. So let them know where they can find you online if you want.
Yeah, so Brent Stackhouse on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter at bstack33, which I probably need to change those handles. Someone's like, hey man, you need to like do some, like, come on, do better, be better. Do better, be better. So, hey, but you can hit me up right now, and then I probably will be changing that.
We'll hook it up.
So,
All right,
yeah,
so
man, I appreciate it.
Man,
I appreciate you. Love you, dude. Glad I could be a part of this. I mean, I hate I couldn't be here opening weekend, to be honest with you, but glad I'm here now, and just excited for
man.
you, excited for Indiana. Man, Indiana, come
got
out.
some good.
Greenwood.
We got some good.
Greenwood, come out.
Got some good.
Plainfield, all y'all in the surrounding area, come out. I don't know where y'all going to comedy shows at for $15 and $20,
Right.
And getting
Free
like
parking,
some
too.
legit
I'm
laughs,
just saying.
right? So
Come in happy, leave happy. It's all good. But this has been the Pops and the Rican show, and yeah, evidently Pops is not here, so I want to thank you guys for following us. Go online, check us out, Gutty'sComedyClub.com. Go online and follow us on YouTube. Click there, share, and hope to see you at the next show.
absolutely, don't forget your mention, your toothpaste,
You
people.
gotta make sure you get on that.
There you go.
Pops and the Rican.
That's what's up.
Look at this dude. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Pops and the Rican.